I'm 13 years old, and I'm standing in front of the X-rated movie theater a little bit from downtown, and I'm waiting for the bus. And a car circles around and asks me if I want to ride, and I'm like, no, I'm waiting for the bus. And he circles around again. I said, I'm waiting for the... And he circles around the third time and says, the bus isn't coming. Where are you going? And I said, straight up the road, a mile. He's like, get in. I do. It looks like Robert Blake with a cheese grater complexion. His car is littered with fast food wrappers and junk. And the first thing he says to me is, it's not about sex. And I said, it better not be. And we're driving, and 2 or 3 blocks from my house is this park, Hopsville Park. And for some reason, I let him drive up there. And then he says, now get out of the car. And I do. And he opens the trunk, and he pulls out a shotgun. And he says, lick the car tires. And he holds the shotgun to my head, and I lick the car tires. He said, oh my God, that was so beautiful. And he said, you know, it's not about sex. And that's when I knew, no, it wasn't about sex. It was about power. And at that point, I had the power. Lucky to grow up in Rochester, New York. First of all, I experienced the race riots of 64 and 67. And they happened right outside my front door. And my father's car was set on fire. And he sent me up to my attic bedroom. And I don't know whether or not Come On Baby Light My Fire was on, but that was also a year of a lot of musical protest. So somehow it impacted me greatly, and protest somehow was given to me, the sense of protest, whether I could consciously understand it or not. And I think that it was at the age of 6 that really I had a moment of consciousness that this was not right. I don't mean only the riots. I mean, my life was not, something was wrong here. And that is in, you know, the trauma zone of a family with a father who was basically at that time outside of all society, a petty criminal and pretty insane.
I never had what you might call a normal life. Not when my first memory is of being rocked like a football inside of a cradle outside of a smoky game at Canasta where my daddy was yelling, you stupid fucking cunt, Jesus goddamn Christ, Lucy. I had a pair of goddamn jacks riding on that fucking deuce and you had to go and blow it. How goddamn stupid can you get? Muggo, goddamn stupid enough to marry a Bible salesman that don't know his ass from first base, Lenny. That's how goddamn dumb. But I wasn't so stupid. As a matter of fact, I was pretty goddamn smart. Smart enough to get out of there by the time I was 14 or 16 before somebody got murdered.
When I first got off the Greyhound in 76 or 7, I don't know when, probably 76, I went to this club I had read about in like Rock Scene or Circus or Cream magazine called Mothers. And there was a horrible band playing, but I've got nothing. I've got one small suitcase and $200. So I picked up the lead singer, said I'm an orphan, said okay, you can come and stay with us in Chelsea, thinking he had scored big. I did him once, and then actually Kitty Bruce was moving out, Lenny Bruce's daughter. So I just skedaddled right up to her loft. And a few nights later, I went to Max's Kansas City, and Suicide was playing.
Beautiful devil.
Suicide inspired me greatly because of the drama, how untraditional it was, because of how frightening they were. I mean, not to me, they were perfect. Then I saw the band Mars. And Mars, that told me, all right, I need to have a band. And I wanted to make some of the angriest, yet most precise, bitter music, which was just a scream from the bowels, a caterwaul. This was me exercising my hatred and anger. Not only against the family, not only against the father of our country, but God the fucker as well. This was an indictment against authority. It needed to express part of who I was, and that was this black-haired, tantrumizing, sadistic, babyface killer. What appears to be so nihilistic about that period is we were products of our generation, meaning the Vietnam War, Kent State, the Summer of Love being butt-fucked by the Summer of Hate and Manson, Nixon, Watergate. We felt the 60s failed us. Our parents failed us. The country failed us. So we came together as a rallying force to document, as exorcism, the dilemmas we were living at the time.
The 4 bands that ended up on the No New York album really embodied a certain kind of minimalist, aggressive noise component. You had the NA. Mars. The Contortions. Us.
Teenage Jesus and the Contortions are happening by end of the 76. So it's not post-punk. It's not like something happening after punk. It's happening at the same time. It is punk, but it's no way.
Groups that were considered no wave at the time or in retrospect are very user-unfriendly. They're discordant. It's a music based out of personal aggression and insanity. It doesn't sound anything at all like anything else, nor each other, unlike most other genres of music.
No Wave was a contrarian gesture against classic rock. It was an innovation about minimalism, pain, unlistenability, unpopularity. We needed to sort of have everything wiped off the slate. If it was a chalkboard, it needed to be erased.
Started seeing the name of her band in print, Teenage Jesus and the Drugs, which I thought was the most audacious and wrong kind of name there could be. So there must be something going on here. And then they put that first single out, and there was a review of it. Like a very pronounced boot, just kicking. It's like, this sounds like cats howling before they're killed, you know. Like, it's just like the worst sounding thing I've ever heard on record. I just thought that was a masterpiece.
I was immediately drawn to Lydia, and I picked up every record that she had anything to do with. I was just spellbound. Lydia had just this outsider image that was totally unique. Lydia's greatest work of art is herself. She created this being that's like all-encompassing in every medium.
We had to do it now. We had to make the music now. We had to make the films now. We had to take the photos now. We were trying to document kind of a moment of personal insanity or political insanity, which is the same way that my spoken word went.
Would we really notice any difference if just a hair of that power, just a tad of that power, was redirected to the emotionally more sympathetic, to the intellectually more tolerant, to the biologically superior hands-off women?
That late 70s, early 80s time was so key for women in the arts, women in the underground, women in punk, and it was certainly a huge influence on us. So she's like the queen of that part of the underground, and yet she's a misfit within it, because I think that she is so brutally honest that some people can't maybe handle what she does.
They're just mauling the shit out of it. They're just ripping it open, ripping their sweet white chicken meat, that white, tender baby flesh with their greasy fucking meatless, right? You stink of vinegar and piss and hot and mustard. Right? They got me begging, right? They got me begging the way you see it. Begging, begging, begging like I died and went to heaven. Right? Begging, please, 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 please. Don't force me, don't force me, don't force me into it. Yeah! You think I'm gonna take it lying down? You got another fucking death coat.
Why should you be the girl walking down the street with your head down while everyone's talking about your ass and your tits? And, you know, why not be willing to have a fist fight right there? I think that creates an evolution and a bigger population than yourself.
We'd always allowed, or at least since the late 19th century, a sense of the angry young man. This had kind of run through our culture from romanticism's wanderlust through like the hobos, like late 19th century America, whatever. We'd had some angry women, but we'd never seen anyone channel it into something which wasn't just vitriolic feminism. Here we had like an artist manifesting it in a way that was really engaging and terrifying.
I know you can smell it, too. Do you smell it? Do you smell all those remote mutilations inflicted upon my body, upon my mind, upon my soul, upon my psyche? You smell it? Sometimes it's as if I'm just the last bloom. I feel as if I'm the last bloom on a condemned and sickly tree, and I know that I could be struck into oblivion with a single breath. What you call life? I call a sexually transmitted incurable disease. And history is just like that insufferable know-it-all, slouching towards millennium like a limping panhandler, scratching its nuts in disbelief. History laughs at us. History's laughing at you because you haven't learned anything from it. You, whose history has blood and executions, mass murders, the Holy Crusade. Hallowed be thy name, of God on high. Kill in the name of God. How much blood is on your hands? You're full of fucking blood. You're all grave diggers to the future.
So how we met? I opened my mailbox one day, and I get an email from somebody who says, I really like your album, Conspiracy of Women.
When I was 15, 16, I was obsessed with this website. Conspiracy of Women is there as an audio file. And I had downloaded years and years prior, and it was just something that was sitting, lingering in my mind.
Why was I born an American? And now it was better to do me to do something really good. And now it's better to do me to do something really good.
It stayed on every computer, you know, that I've had since. So I started finding noise records, ambient kind of noise records, drone records, and started basically setting up psychoambience, and then you would be on top of it.
Detonating cows and bozos, trapped in a tissue of lies and illogic.
After doing that for like a year, I was like, I should probably email this incredible person who did this. That's when I put two and two together, that Conspiracy of Women was done by you.
I'm Lydia Lunch. And my language is not silence. My song is the scream. Terror dwells in the shadow of my wings. My hope is my first gasp and my last battle. I am merely here as the founding member of the Conspiracy of Women. COW, for short. And the first question on our list in our 13-step program
is why is it that the same assholes who invented torture and kidnapping and nuclear power and atomic warheads and pollution and poverty and welfare and war, why do these same idiots now want to abolish my right to illegal abortion? I say that as our first step, as our first priority, mandatory abortion and mass sterilization should replace immediately religious uproar, horror, outrage, abuse, and war.
The tricky part with my spoken word is I think, am I saying what I really mean? Am I being sarcastic, or do I mean exactly the opposite of what I'm saying? This is what poetry then is. This is where the poetry comes in.
Exactly.
And it's for you to decide what to take from it.
It's an energy of pure opposition, of resistance. And sometimes people, I would see it. People would misunderstand what you were trying to tell them, this or that, but I could tell that every single time that you spoke, that if you were going to say it to provoke, you were saying it because that needed to be provoked in that moment.
Get your gun, okay? Get your gun, woman. Get your fucking gun, all right? Because there's a rumor going around we never believe in, and that the fucking war has just begun, baby. That the war is never over. That the war is never ending. That the war is just an army of drunken hooligans who, in order to pump up, oh yes, who in order to fucking pump up, who in order to pump up that last fading trickle of their waning sexuality, have got to pick up fucking bombs, have got to pick up fucking bullets, have got to pick up fucking bricks so that they can better enable them to penetrate the flesh of my flesh, baby. The enemy, yes, always keep the enemy in sight, but I'm not the enemy, and just remember who the fucking enemy is to penetrate the flesh of the enemy, the flesh of my flesh, the blood of my blood, the breath of my breath, oh baby, the breath of my breath, remember.
We used to be warriors, women. You know, how we have devolved from Medusa to Madonna, from Kali to Courtney Love, from Durga to Uma Thurman. I don't get it. We need to get back to the goddess. You know, Durga, she said, cut off your own fucking head. You want to go on a suicide mission? Go on a suicide mission. One man, one bomb, and leave the innocent women, the innocent children, and the innocent male civilians out of it. It's not my war. As a musician, I've contradicted the sound that came before, usually. I mean, even with my first band, Teenage Jesus, short, precise stabs of brutal precision with slicing slide guitar. And then I had Eight Eyed Spy, which was like West Coast surf punk rock. 13 came about as I was performing with Eight Eyed Spy at a club downtown. It was really packed, and I had to have my leg on the chest of the first person in front of me because it was so crowded. Somehow he wanted to finance a record by me, and I went out to LA when I quit Eight Eyed Spy because they were too popular, and we started this band called 1313. People consider it goth, but if it's goth, it's the best goth. It's psychedelic, rock, goth. Basically, I was obsessed with Richard Ramirez when I wrote a lot of these lyrics. The hen's afraid of your company, lock your doors. 13 really set a precedent for incredible musicians, and again, completely conceptual sound. And followed immediately by Queen of Siam, which was nursery rhymes. concept that hits, and then I find the collaborators who can offset that idea most accurately. I recorded an album, Honeymoon in Red, when I lived in London and was touring with the Birthday Party. Nick Cave and I never agreed on anything from the moment we met. Roland Howard and I agreed on everything. And then, years later, went on to form Shotgun Wedding when I was living in New Orleans and brought Roland down to work on that.
Watch the journey, soul sucker direction. What's life by night? You know that it dies by daylight.
The music always sounds different, but the themes remain the same. The imbalance of power, they're always dystopic, they're always about discomfort, aggravation, the pains of love, lust, murderous intentions. Oh yeah, boys and bands and how they smell. Mostly pretty fucking good, most of all the ones I associate with, they smell pretty fucking good. Just say, I've never smelled weasel smelling bad. Tim Dahl is like one of the best smelling men. Look, Tim Dahl walks by, so we're gonna stop him. But, excuse me, when Tim Dahl walks by, he didn't come back already, did he? Just, where's she? Say, Tim Dahl, Lydia told me to do this, and just smell him, because he's the best smelling man. I'll do it. Say, Tim? Yeah. I'm gonna wait, I'm right here, I'm gonna be peeking. Peeking, because it's all the prank on Tim Dahl.
I think he's still in there.
We saw him go to the bathroom, didn't we?
Oh, he did?
He's probably combing his hair. He wears a cap, but he's always combing his hair. Turn around. Don't, it's off of me. Get off.
Should I do it?
You know, I have a little experiment.
All right.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can I just smell you for a minute?
Oh, my God.
He does smell good.
Oh, my God. This is embarrassing, ladies.
When he wears a white... Okay, I don't usually endorse white t-shirt, but Tim Dahl, smell him again. Come on, baby. Smell the back.
Oh, no.
I have to say, well, we're talking about smell of men. I'm like, Tim Dahl, number one. No, when he wears the white t-shirt.
Sure, yeah, sure.
The white. You could wear it for a fucking week, you're still going to smell good. Smell back, probably better. We're having a smelling competition.
Tim's so naive, I love it.
Yeah, he's never done anything bad in
Be
life.
careful that he doesn't do something bad in your eyes.
Oh my God, get out of my eye. I told you, hit the mouth, the nose, the ass, but not the eye. Oh my God. Retrovirus is a retrospective of my 40 years in music, and a lot of the music was just never done live, or it was done for 10 shows in Europe, and especially wasn't done in America. I just felt it was time to do a retrospect and to have fun. First of all, working with Bob Berg, who I've known for 36 years, who was in Sonic Youth and Pussy Galore and Chrome Cranks.
Lydia is the best front person ever. She's spontaneous. She knows how to take a heckler and cut their head off in 2 seconds.
This is not church. I don't need a backup choir. If I did, I would not call you.
And she's on, 24/7.
Then Weasel Walter, who got into my music at the age of 14, and he volunteered because I was having a difficult time trying to conceive of a guitar player who could cover my guitar, Robert Klein's guitar from the Voidoids, and Roland S. Howard, and he was the man for the job.
My style is just a synthesis of all the masters and mistresses that came before me. Bob Klein, for example, is a legendary guitar player. And it's an honor to sort of hold his chair. So I want to do it justice by letting these people speak through me, because some of them are dead. A lot of them are dead.
And he understood the music and how to bring a new intensity, and then he brought Tim Dahl into it, who's played with all kinds of improv and jazz greats.
Lydia totally allows me to be an artist within her designs. Definitely with Retrovirus, there was no intention to try to synthesize the past. There had to be danger. There had to be modern interpretations. Otherwise, it wouldn't have worked.
Psycho. This is my fantasy. Look, there is no one in this whole building. Oh, I see one man upstairs. There is one pillow on a balcony. All of these apartments are vacant. If there is not blood in one of those closets, I don't know what there is. This is Patrick Bate. This is American Psycho.
I lived with a hairdresser who happened to be a dirt bike racer. I know all about dirt bikes and cutting hair.
Charles Manson always had such great haircuts.
Except for when he was shaved bald.
Oh, yeah, well, you know.
Yeah, lighter. But mine's not much. Yeah, it's awesome, man. This is the easiest haircut I've ever given. That'll be $250. That's it, Well, actually, better information, just over the years. Plus air conditioning on, so you can fly back.
Yeah, cool. Cool service. I love this tour. I love this thing.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, I love going over the years.
Scary.
Noticeably better, actually. All right, let's just see.
Oh, thank you, Supreme Leader.
Supreme follower. It's not an issue. Slaughter?
Yeah, fine.
You are my type, you know that. I might not be your type, but you are my type. I love a man in uniform, I love a man named Slaughter, and I love a man named Slaughter.
Thank you.
I love that. Stay healthy.
So what's the difference between a gay, a queer, and a faggot?
I'm a faggot.
Okay.
You're queer.
Okay.
And people that are gay are just happy.
Okay.
So I'm going to repeat it. Sticky, little, sister, gooey, gushing like a fountain. Jesus Christ, I think I just came saying, shout a little kitty. Joey, can you tell me if I just came, please? Can you just give me a look? Can you touch me and see if I... Shout a little kitty with the... Smith & Wesson. I'm still waiting on the word come out the gospel singers. Bob, how does it feel to be rocking, Baba Lish?
Oh, orgasmic.
I might need you to come and, wipe me up. Bob's the lucky one in the band who just stares at my ass the whole time. Light ass, you're in the right place.
Could life be any better?
Thank you, Bob. Now, suddenly my microphone has become my mirror. Oh, my God. Tim Dahl, that's the hottest plumber's crack I've ever seen.
Oh, God.
It's like really petite and sweet. I bet it smells good, but I'm not going there.
Oh.
Tim Dahl, for some reason, does not mind my sexual harassment. Because he knows it is basically a gang sex attack against morality. That's all I'm saying, folks. Why have I never asked him to beat my ass with drumsticks? I'm a fucking idiot.
My wrists are getting tired.
Yeah, well, how's it going to feel if you beat my ass for a few hours? why should I have sex? I am sex. I'm walking pornography, remember? Thank you, Mike Girard.
I really want to destroy the way people thought about sex and stuff, because I felt like everything was run by sex. All the relationships and love and all that stuff, the way it was portrayed in the movies and the way people, it was all a big lie, you know, and a lot of stuff was a lie. All this stuff, you wake up and everything's a fucking lie, so you just want to, like, destroy everything possible, smash it up and tear it down. Let's get back to anarchy. On and on and on. Destroy, destroy. So I just had these meager fantasies about doing that kind of thing. And Lydia was like, yeah, good idea.
I needed to make a film, The Right Side of My Brain, which to me was like an homage to Polanski's Repulsion, which I thought was a very important film about female paranoia and disgust. And at that point, I mean, the films that I did with Richard were autobiographical.
She wrote this incredible narration that just strung everything together. And I was really fortunate in that Jim was her boyfriend, and Jim is like this fucking genius in the studio. So we set up a projector in the booth, we set a mic on Lydia, Jim has an array of cassette players all over the place. They're all hooked up. Lydia's watching the movie and just reading her thing as the scenes go, and Jim is watching the movie at the same time, just doing cassettes, making loops, and playing different soundtracks. It was all done, the whole soundtrack was done live.
Because they love you so much.
So Right Side of My Brain was more about me trying to get over my obsession with the need for more, forever unsatisfied, cycling through a series of men. None of them able to really satisfy my unquenchable hunger, which is why at times I'd need 6 of them. Not necessarily at the same time, but in the same frame of time.
Crazy women because love is deaf and dumb and stupid and it hurts like hell, and that's better than violence.
It was acting. It wasn't the era of reality television. This was a film. So, you know, this is what happened in the film. And then I was required to perform the best as I could with some difficulty. It's not something you do, that I do in public every day.
It's such an iconic scene.
But it's been immortalized on T-shirts. It's made its way all the way to MoMA.
The first screening of Right Side of My Brain was at the Kitchen in 1984, I guess, and Jay Hoberman just eviscerated it. Misogyny up and down, misogyny, you know, and I was sitting there thinking, like, this is Lydia's story. Well, I guess she could be a misogynist, anybody can, but I was getting the misogyny, you know, but I'm telling Lydia's story. I mean, everything in there pretty much. It's just a terrible review. And not about, you know, bad acting or anything like that. This is completely the wrong values.
I never did any kind of art, especially the films, thinking I was going to get a reaction. I never thought anything I did was shocking. If you can't take it for 20 minutes, you try living it for 20 or 40 years. The reason I was pushing beyond normal experience, well, I had to be brought to the brink of something explosive because otherwise I didn't feel it. So I had to go beyond what normal people would tolerate or what they wanted or what excited them, so that eventually I would find a balance from this.
And I long to escape. I long to escape the perimeter of this fleshy prison, to disappear into milky nimbus, blurry-eyed, lightheaded. I longed for a permanent amnesia, a catatonia, which forgoes responsibility, because responsibility is the enemy of freedom. I wanted to erase dreams, memory, vision, to ultimately forget every word, every face, every nightmare, every fuck.
I always knew from a very early age that I was on a cycle that I wanted to get off of, that I didn't want to perpetuate a cycle of abuse, that I didn't want to be just reactionary because of what was done to me or what I saw in life or what I even politically already knew from a very early age.
Nothing has changed. Just all feels exactly the same. We're back at it again. The same old thing. Over and over and over again. The ritual begins. The ritual begins. We're stuck in an awful place. I just can't win. Today's not again.
I had to literally put myself into detoxing from myself. I had to put myself into a forced segregation, lock myself away, decide to replace them, want, need, desire with myself. I had to become my own lover. I had to really go inside and say, what is this vacancy? What is it? What is not fulfilled? When I can do everything I want with whoever I want, musically, sexually, where I have no limitations on myself. Nobody can tell me what to do, and trust me, they cannot, because I will do exactly what I want to do every moment, as I feel everybody should. So what was missing? And what was missing was a part of myself. And I think what makes me different than most people that have suffered trauma or abuse is that I never turned the knife inward. I always turned the knife outward. From the age of 9, I was having homicidal dreams. I never had suicidal dreams.
She had such a idea of what the power of sex was at such an early age. She took it upon herself to explore it in the most explicit and charged way. And that was apparent to everybody who dealt with Lydia and crossed paths with her, whether you were friends or enemies with her. You knew it was something that she so owned She had eradicated and transcended any danger, and she became what she wanted with it. Like, there was nothing more dangerous than Lydia Lunch at that point.
I always observed Lydia Lunch in the 80s with her intense, advanced sexuality to be so ahead of the times. And she spoke back then about the father and patriarchy and female strength in such a way that it wasn't ever, to me, about equality. It was about inventing a new paradigm of feminism entirely.
Retournons reçoit Lydia Lunch. Yeah.
Would you be good enough to describe your book for us?
Well, I describe it as a travelogue of sexual horror and the repercussions. I think it's obsessions that affect a lot of women. Obsessions for more, for harder, for deeper, for more serious encounters, for something that threatens your existence, for something that makes you feel truly alive. And if you've been a victim of pain or trauma, you're often numb, and you will seek out the extremes of passion. And that basically sums up the search that is the dialogue of this book.
Slow, deadly. He removes his spell. Did you choose the sex as your main kind of arm, your main weapon in a sense, because it's the anti-Christ par excellence in a what would be quite a moralistic American society?
So beautifully put, and what a mouthful indeed. Well, because in America, because we have the highest incidence of rape and serial killers and domestic abuse, and yet we use the female sex to sell everything from toothpaste to cars, we have a very twisted version and viewpoint of what sex is. It's still a grand taboo. And I think, yes, especially as a very young woman, I used sex as the great avenger for all women against men.
My hands were around his throat, and his neck was broken in 3 different places. Now, maybe I just seen one too many late-night black and white film noirs. I was caught in a locker room like Gun Crazy, Nightmare Alley, Road, Strangers on a Train, My Walk with Me, Vengeance is mine, vengeance is mine. Oh, it's mine, it's mine, it's vengeance, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine.
To be so angry and so hurt, but so beautiful and even stylistic about it. It's not just a public confession or a application of guilt or, it's more than a confrontation. The exposure, even with the dogs out, is still an exposure.
Excuse me, let me break it down for you, because I do want statistics. 72 fusion centers employing 200,000 Homeland Security agents to spy on you right here in America. Do you feel safe? Do you feel safe? You're not fucking safe. You're under surveillance. This is a police state on a prison planet. Oh, I'm making this up? Oh, I'm paranoid? Oh, I'm exaggerating. I talk about this shit for 40 fucking years, man. I ain't making it up. New York City, oh yeah. Aren't you happy you still live here? I fucking left here in 1990. Motherfuckers, I'm back only because you need me.
One of the amazing performances I saw her was at London Fashion Week. She topped everyone, was funny and then harsh again, and then charming and harsh again. And yeah, I could see the cycle, and by the end everyone was submissive and in fan mode and hearing it. That's activism. To go in somewhere where the people are mixed. They're not necessarily already in the Church of Lydia.
It's absolutely vital that she be able to divide a room.
And I know that a woman has never started a world war, but that war whore Hillary Clinton would have been the first, and I quote her, "We can't be fighting the last war, we have to be prepared to fight the next fucking war."
Lydia is a fucking doctor. Her kind of medicine is just a punch in the fucking face. And it's like, wake up, motherfucker. Wake the fuck up.
I like seeing Lydia kick people in the face. Like, it's to me, that is needed, not being on automatic, you know, not being on just along for the ride, really trying to see why we, you know, we perceive things the way we perceive, what's behind the veil. In the late 70s, what she's saying, if anything, it's more relevant today.
The 60s, post-war, all that stuff like that had allowed this this kind of great optimism for the future. And punk was the kind of the first way in which it was like, with no future, that, you know, we understood that that our expectations were diminished. Where Lydia and her generation came from was from a position way lower than that. It wasn't just no future, it was like there was no present.
People came to New York from St. Petersburg, from Ohio, from various places, and they came to a city that was basically the asshole of America at that point. It was bankrupted. I called it Beirut on the Hudson. It was a purposeful bomb out by the real estate, the banks, so that they could get rid of the rent-controlled apartments that housed minorities, artists, musicians.
New York City, New York, where in order to keep up with the Joneses, first you're going to have to get sodomized, brutalized, bastardized, traumatized, demoralized. They'll lock you up, turn you on, knock you out, rip you off, and cut you up into 1,001 little pieces so that they can double their investment by selling you by the pound on the black market. Because this is the place where the average all-American hard-working heroes have turned into killers, into rapists, into terrorists, into gamblers, gangsters, hitmen, henchmen, superheroes who would rather die screaming in a blaze of glory than to buy into your flesh parade, your living death, your walking, talking, fucking, sucking death machine on wheels. It's no wonder to me that kids today want to grow up to be the next Charles Manson, Jim Jones, Jim Morrison, Max the Knife, Nick the Stripper, Tex Ritter, Clint Eastwood, Clint Pruitt, Mario Andretti, Muhammad Ali, Albert Einstein, because he's the one who invented the fucking bomb. He knew it was kill or be killed if you ain't dead already.
The Lower East Side in the late 70s was essentially like a war zone. One building after the next was empty. Taxi cabs wouldn't take you to the Lower East Side. There was a small punk community, and usually, you know, if you lived there, you met each other. You know, there's that old saying, real recognizes real.
It was avenues B, C, and D that were really the gray zone. At that point, there were entire blocks that seemed to be demolished or in rubble, or maybe buildings that had been burnt down, or it's kind of like a cancerous mouth that it had. Its molars ripped out.
And in that kind of that void that was left, it became a really fecund place. Not just for the cheapness, maybe for the frisson of the danger, because it was a place where no matter how fucked up you got, you still had to keep your wits about you, develop like street smarts.
I'd say that drugs and alcohol were much more readily available than basic food substances.
We kind of lived near each other. I was on Eldridge in between Hester and Grand. Lydia, she was over on Rivington somewhere. I didn't really know her that well. We had just kind of started hanging out. And she goes, I really have to pee. And I was like, well, you can use my toilet if you want. She goes, no, I really have to pee now. And she kicked the door open, and she said, be my watch out. Watch out for what? I mean, it's like, you know, maybe some homeless guy would walk by, you know. And she just went up to the middle of the stairwell, lifted her whatever up, pulled her whatever down, and just peed for like 5 minutes. And she was just laughing. I was like watching somebody completely owning and embracing their environment, themselves, everything in me, and like just kind of like not having, like, every mask was off, you know. It was just like, and that's when I was just like, oh, I don't know anybody like you, and I probably never will.
Exercising is so boring. Cat scratch one of my favorites. You kneel on all fours and you round your back up like a cat. Lift, lift. Would you please lift my leg? Deltoids as opposed to sleep. Oh, there you go.
We were staying at Richard Kern's place. He let us crash there. We had our van parked right on his street below. I think that's how we met Lydia the first time, and we ended up going to Coney Island. We rode the Cyclone together, and that was just insanity because I think Lydia was on acid, and I'm not sure if Richard was. I was not. I'd never been on the Cyclone. I thought we were all going to die while Lydia's laughing her ass off and just like flailing and like practically standing up in the roller coaster. And I think she was sitting in front of me. I was just like, oh my fucking God, like this is, I was kind of excited, like, oh my God, I'm going to die with Lydia Lunch and Richard Kern. That's going to be fabulous. But then I was like, I don't want to die.
One of the prerequisites of being allowed to join Teenage Jesus and the Jerks was that I had to be deflowered by Lydia. I found myself in the men's room stall with her, and Lydia made her intentions pretty clear. She wanted to fuck. And unbeknownst to her, though, I was a virgin. So I confessed to her that I was a little bit, feeling a little bit unprepared to satisfy her request or demand, command. She set up an appointment for deflowering me. I was to come fully prepared to perform the act in question, but also she requested some additional supplies. She needed a couple of cans of Ready Whip and a couple of bottles of Coca-Cola and some chewing gum. My mind was racing. I was like, what kind of kinky stuff is this going to be? What has she got in mind? I presented her with the supplies, and she immediately squirted some Ready Whip into her mouth and drank some Coca-Cola. That was just her dinner. No kinkiness whatsoever. That was just what she subsisted on. And she lured me up into her boudoir, and she was very gentle and understanding with the act of seduction. And successfully accomplished the deflowering without any trauma.
I think I became sexually promiscuous in order to wash the taste of my father off my hands. And that was pretty successful. I was a successful predator. I liked a lot of anonymous sex. I would pick up guys, tell them a fake name, go to their house, their apartment, rip them off, disappear when they were in the bathroom, and laugh on the way home. It was acts of demanding my pleasure from whoever I felt like having it from, and rarely, if ever, was I denied. I mean, this was not a cycle of abuse. This was a cycle of pleasure. Who was getting abused? The men I was ripping off? Oh, I guess. Really? I'm a hot 16, 17-year-old. Who's losing on this equation?
All I've seen Lydia do is just take what she wants. And maybe that's perceived to be a masculine kind of behavior, but I tell women in my life that anything they want is in front of them and just to take it. And whether or not that's perceived as predatory, just take what you want.
Vincent, Bobby, D'Onofrio, I've been following you for a while now. I mean, I would notice if you had been following me. After all, you know better than to stalk the stalker. So I'm just going to assume this is your first exposure to me. I love how you play a defender of the law, considering you have a completely criminal mind, and you've probably committed a lot of crimes. And you've already committed some crimes against my own morality. That is, you're married, right? I mean, your wife. We don't have to bring her into this. She doesn't have to know. I love the way you can just cross over from one side of the law to the other. It's a lot like I am, you see. Because, Bobby, I have more gun training than any of the so-called cops on your show. That's not a threat. I'm not bragging. It's an acknowledgement. I'm not threatening. Anyway, Bobby, I got it bad. So bad for Bobby. He's got that crazy look in his eye. He flipped his badge, made me surrender, but, well, I don't really need an alibi because I haven't done anything wrong, but I would love it if you could interrogate me. I mean, your interrogations.
I think Lydia is speaking of her sexuality unapologetically, and that is incredibly brave because I don't think a lot of women in particular, men included, but women in particular, got that real about like what turns them on and what scenes they're getting into to satisfy that sexual crave. And she's very honest about it. It blew my mind. That was like, wow, she's going there. Holy shit.
I could feel nothing that wasn't extreme, because if it wasn't extreme, I couldn't feel it at that point, because I had basically flatlined as a mechanism of protection against trauma. And I knew from a very early age, I was going to deal with it, I was going to talk about it, I was going to express it, and I was going to try to not carry it on.
I think it was on Wednesdays, right? You'd get out these scalding hot rags and place them on that little brown freckle on my ass. God, how I hated that thing. Now, you can call it a mole or you can call it a beauty mark, but I just called it a pain on my ass, right? Spoiling that picture perfect, pure little pork ass. And I thought that once we had that burned off, man, all my problems would disappear. Slip right out the door. The back door, so to speak, but out the door. But once again, proved dead wrong. Because right about then is really when all my troubles were just beginning. And there was, standing on top of the sink and getting all hot and cold, because one of the chicks, you'd say, was alternating the washcloths. One real hot, one real cold, one real hot, one real cold, and I'd be standing up there all squealing like a little stuck pig in heat, all giggly and shit, when suddenly, well, I don't know whether it was hot or cold, but it was definitely wet. Your tongue slipping between my legs, going, come on now, open up. And it's all tickly right now. I'm all squirming up the storm, wiggling all over the place, and every 2 out of 6 licks, right, you kiss the target spot, and I feel a little bit of warming, a little wriggling, like some kind of goddamn garden snake, right, crawling up my asshole, just snaking around, licking my pussy all slippery and gooey and stinky, and I'd start smelling that slightly rank smell that I would grow, so painfully familiar with, that slight stink of my sweet little baby pussy, right, mixing with your stinky cigarette and onion and a little bit of bourbon breath, right, a little bit of bourbon breath. And I know all your favorite games, Daddy, I know all your favorite games, because they've always been my favorite too, like go to sleep now.
From a very early age, my father would sneak into my room, do things nobody should do to their child, while my mother was working as a night nurse. And of course, when you're that young, you have no idea what's going on, because you have a sense of wrong, but you also have a sensation of pleasure. And this is something that has twisted most of us. And I realized at probably the age of 9 that this kind of trauma, this familial abuse, in whatever format it takes, whether it's physical or psychological, is something that doesn't start there. And when you realize that it's not really a personal thing, it's a genetic, traditional, historical insanity, it's easier to deal with it in some ways. And then, of course, you get the consciousness to just say, leave me the fuck alone, motherfucker.
flabby, lecherous fuck stumbles out of the toilet wearing a bathrobe. He trips over his fluffy white terry cloth slippers, which bear the monogram of the upscale hotel in Midtown Manhattan, which was charged to the credit card of his absolutely influential and moneyed wife. And God damn it, at $3,000 a night for the fucking room, he's gonna take those terry cloth slippers home for the little fucking dog to chew on, right? I wish it had been me swiping that electronic key card into the slot on the door and calling out a really sweet fucking voice, housekeeping, before entering and walking in with a vacuum cleaner in one hand and a spray bottle of disinfectants in the other. He grins, barreling down the hallway as he drops the towel. A lifetime of arrogance and privilege instantly replaced with confusion and pain as a quick blast of sodium hydroxide scalded to red the gray jellied sack that swung between his fat fucking thighs. I've never met a man I couldn't fucking kill or a hard cock I couldn't fucking crack. So you Hollywood starlets, get a fucking grip. You know what? Oh, it is for my career. You know what? You're ambitious, fucking greedy cunts. You couldn't crack a cock of a fat man in a bathrobe. Fuck off. Fuck off. You see a hard dick you don't like it, one fucking it's done. How hard is that? Teach your children well.
I don't blame the victim. I blame the parents of the victim. I blame the mothers for not teaching women how to defend themselves. I blame the fathers for not teaching little boys how to act with respect. But then again, who were our parents and who taught them? Nobody. I blame the mothers, my own to begin with, who, like, in silence and deafness and stupidity, didn't see what was going on. And it's not like I don't blame my father, but I know he was a victim of being a victim and couldn't control his urges, which then made me not able to control my urges.
I'm not going to mention a friend of mine's name, a musician in Scotland. His band opened up for Retrovirus, and afterwards, he just let himself get destroyed by Lydia. Black eyes, sucking on her stiletto heel after she's walked through the puke-soaked Friday night streets of Glasgow, and yet he loved her, and she was loving to him. I'm just like, what am I witnessing here?
It's been quite a long time now that we've been circling each other like sick sharks. Not sure exactly how close we should get. Curious as to whether or not our feral nature would force a violent cataclysm.
So after this 2-day, just basically humiliation, mutilation, he said to her, "You don't know how much I've suffered." And she hugged him. I know it doesn't sound like anything, but I saw something so dramatic over 48 hours, and then it finished in one of the most compassionate ways, yeah.
Sometimes when you need the smallest, most tender action, attention, and you don't get it, you will look for the biggest monster in the room. Now, what the fuck? So really what you need is the tenderness you were denied as a child, but as a defense mechanism, if you're not going to get it, you will look for something monstrous to compensate in a reverse and negative way. Because trauma is greedy. You can't calm me down, I'm going to fuck you up. That a lot of damaged people come together because they have this simpatico understanding. They have this chemical reaction to each other, and it's great, and it's intense, and it's borderline psychotic, but in a good way, until it becomes maniacal in a bad way, because you're still fighting the same demons which reside basically within you because you've been impregnated with the monster who also wants to live. No matter how many years of psychological investigation, of public psychotherapy, of emotional release, there's still always some form of trauma that lives in the body that will manifest in one way or another.
I'm writing songs for thee, set stones. I'm writing poems on his tombstone. I'm writing letters to a dead man. I'm writing songs to another ghost.
I battle the pains that trauma has inflicted upon my body. I battle that. I am obsessed with the big picture of the mania of homicidal genocide. Is it just a pre-programmed genetic chemical malfunction in the male psyche that allows them to feel that killing hundreds or thousands of millions of people every year is valid? Bombing whole cities to rubble. I want the numbers. I want the statistics. I want to know how many are dead and dying. I want to know how many cities are bombed. Where are the military bases? Why? I have no idea why I'm obsessed with that shit. And have to try to make some sense. Because maybe then it just makes the war inside seem so much easier to deal with.
We had a date, West Street and 8. If you're gonna be there, don't be late.
trusted as such, without a soft touch. If it would have mattered, it didn't too much. I waited for you a minute or two. Is this what kind of girl you can call in? Fumbling around a cigarette, smoked it through the ash and then lit up again. Blowing smoke rings, blinding the air. If you're coming, baby, you're just doing a reading. I'm too impatient, and you're just too late. My sense in Spanish is not that great. When this young kind of guy walks right on by me, I couldn't have been more than 16. There's nothing I can do, you gotta understand. You see, he had this walk, down pat, and no, he wasn't going my direction, so I just kind of turned around. I had you, I was really possessed. I wasn't myself. I was so close, I crept like a cat. Visions of seduction lurking under my hat. He was so young, such innocence. If I had control, I didn't feel any yet. I couldn't be heard, not a sound did I make. If this is the real thing, there's just no need to fake. So now is the time, the crucial 8 miles. If I had